I'm Dave. I'm a designer here at Right Point, and well, it's my former employer is the name that I'm more familiar with saying, and I am an insufferable Lottie advocate. Do people know what Lottie is? Are we all kind of familiar? So I'm just going to talk about how really great it is and how really easy the authoring environment After Effects is, because people seem to be intimidated by it. And then I'm going to do a little demo and then talk about some practical uses you might not have thought about for Lottie. So this is playing. Yeah. Okay. So this is a small fraction of my animated Star Wars epic, and this is all done in vector, and it's a 5-second. 60 frames a second, although not playing at that rate right now, 1920 by 1080. And if I were trying to deliver this in an app across platforms as a ping sequence at different resolutions, that would be absurd, right? Even as a video of this duration and size at that frame rate, it's 15 megs. But as this Lottie file, this JSON file, it's only 269K. And because it's uncompresses so well, it's actually only 16K potentially. So that's nearly 6 orders of magnitude, and it's the same file that could be distributed across web, iOS, Android, React Native, and now even Microsoft. So pretty good. Oops, I was a slide behind. Sorry about that. So Lottie is great for onboarding screens and things like that, where people are going to tend to skip them, but if you give them something engaging, maybe they pay a little bit more attention. So, you know, if we ask if we can send notifications and you show a little, cute thing, or if we ask for your location and it's a CIA van driving down the street with something, or if you're typing in your password and Putin is watching you, because he's going to peek. You know he's going to peek, right? So that's kind of valuable if you're doing onboarding and it's meaningful onboarding. Now, there's a site called Lottie Files where people put up their Lottie creations. Sorry? Oh yeah, sorry. And so what's great about it is that you can download these files and put them into your projects. But if you look up at the top, there's also an AE download. That's for After Effects. So if there's something that you like, you can download it and kind of reverse engineer it and make it your own, which I think is great. So here's my case study demo. I'm gonna get into After Effects actually, but what I want to teach you is just like the one thing you can do in After Effects that's going to make you look like you're a really good animator. So we had this project where we had an activity tracker, and we were running long in the project, and I was talking to the developer on the project, and he said, you know what, I don't know if I'm going to have time to be the person who makes this happen, who makes this data visualization happen. And I said, well, how about this? How about I create a Lottie animation that is 101 frames long, so that the first frame is 0 and the last frame is 100%. And we'll put it into the project. We already used the Lottie library for the onboarding, so it's already in there. And you just have the app target the appropriate frame based on the data that you're getting from this wearable. All right, so here's the part where I have to pay very close attention to what's going to happen, because it's just a video demo. I'm not going to do it live. So you're going to go into After Effects and you're going to create a circle, and I'm not going to tell you how to do that. But I am going to tell you how to use trim paths. So if this starts playing, I'm going to go into my content sublayer of my layer with a circle and select trim paths, and then I'm going to twirl down trim paths, and I'm going to set the start and end of this path to 0, both of them, and set keyframes in that first frame for each of those values. It turns out I didn't even need to do it in the start frame, but it's there. So, and then I go to the very last frame. This is frame 101, and I'm going to set the end to 100. And so now when I scrub through the playhead, it's going to actually animate from 0 to 100. And I also decided that I was going to change the end caps of this line, so you can see now they're rounded. They were what they call butt caps, but now they're rounded. And so now I have the animation that I want. And now I'm just going to go up to the window, choose my extensions, choose body movement, which is the extension that allows you to turn your vector animations in After Effects into JSON files. You may have multiple compositions in your project, so you have to select the appropriate one. Glyphs are used to support text. There's no text in this file, but I usually check the demo tab there so that I can get an HTML companion file and preview my animation in a browser, which is very handy. So I've created a folder, and I type very slowly, and I hit render, and it's done instantaneously because this is a very small vector file, right? So that's great. It took me only a couple of minutes to make something that functions like this. But the real test is how long does it take Jay, who is the developer on the project, who's also presenting twice today, so that's why he's not here with me right now. How long does it take him to implement this solution, right? So I have something, but what's it really going to take Jay to do? And I went to Jay a couple of days ago because I wanted to give him plenty of time to provide me with, either the code or even like a prose description of all the steps that he had to take. And he says, "Oh no, I'll Slack it to you." So pretty good, right? It's a great use of each of our time, or the appropriate use of each of our time, and it's a great union of design and development, which is something that we strive for here at Right Point. The fun part is when you start to do things like this, start to realize that assets can have all sorts of states, right? We don't just want to have a down state and an unselected state or something like that. We could have myriad states, and you can create your own custom assets. And the more fluid the experience is in your apps, the more engaging those apps are, and especially when it's custom. So once we got to this kind of point where like I'm creating assets that have 100 states in them, we started to think about like, well, where do we want to go with this? And I think where we wanted to go with this was Iron Man. So we created, let's see if it's going to come up. Yep, okay, there we go. So we created a remote control system for a tablet device and rigged it all up so that we could control, I'm not going to call it a flying drone assassin, but we can do an awful lot of things that are super engaging because we're using animation and these Lottie files, and the animation itself isn't that tricky. The tricky thing is reading Arabesh, which is the Star Wars language that I use to put all the labels in. So anyway, so the big takeaways here are After Effects isn't that hard. The neat thing about After Effects is that anything you ever wanted to do in After Effects, like hundreds of other people have already wanted to do. And they figured out a way to do it, and they are people who are inclined to make videos. So you'll find examples of exactly what you want to do. And Lottie is not only delightful, but it's powerful. You can use it to do a lot more stuff than just a simple, straightforward animation, because you can control it. And then finally, it's really important to me that designers should take responsibility for doing more than just what they produce in Sketch, right? We should be designing for motion, and we should be designing for sound and haptics and voice and accessibility and all those other things. And I think Lottie helps us get a little ways there, and also is pretty delightful. Thanks.